Well, Chad, how are you today, man? How's everything in where are you? Ventura, California? Oxnard?
Yeah, yep. We just finished a great month, so very excited about that.
Nice. Yeah, so it's funny, man. It's funny you should start there because one of the things that I see a lot on social is everybody talking about their record months, right? And so
Yeah,
part of me just wants to say from my weird chair at 30,000 feet, like, if you didn't have a record month, you're doing something wrong,
yeah,
it's
definitely.
right. So, but I mean, that kind of leads into this very conversation because the thing that I see is that we're in an environment right now where when you're so busy in a low rate environment, there's a lot of
Hmm.
incoming inquiries, a
Yeah,
lot of conversation, a lot of dialogue, particularly when there's limited inventory. It just creates this sort of frenzy on the purchase side and the refi side.
yeah,
And it's like getting into an old classic car and saying, man, this 66 Mustang looks awesome, I'm going to take it out on the track, and you realize that the wheels are wobbling and there's smoke
yeah,
coming out from under the hood, and we got some issues here, and wow, the
yeah.
temperature gauge is climbing. And so that's kind of what we're seeing in the mortgage industry right now. Is there's a
Right.
lot of We all have gaps in not only our systems, but our conveyor belt, as you like to call it,
Yeah,
and even our best practices. Chad, I just see
yeah.
a lot of gaps there, right? Is that what you're seeing?
Absolutely. And we go into complete reactionary mode. You can lose orientation. People are just slamming things in as fast as they can, and that's great. It helps you on the front end, on the short side, but in the long run, it just bogs down the system and makes it more complicated.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and obviously, we see a lot of frustration in the support staff. They're getting fried. They're working overtime, many hours, and so
totally.
the more I can do on the front end to make a better file, the more it's going to go easier on the back end. And actually, my processors love my files. They
No
look forward to
doubt.
getting one of mine because it's
Right.
like, yeah, they know I've really set it up the right way. I've,
Yep.
I've gone into depth on it. But obviously, I'm out there hitting all the volume goals that I want to hit too.
For sure. So let's talk about that a little bit. I want people to understand a little bit about you so they know why we're talking. So
Okay.
how long have you been in this exciting and rewarding business we call the mortgage industry?
Um, so 32 years.
Wow. That doesn't
Um,
look easy for you.
Yeah,
So
I'm
tell me
second
more.
generation. Second
Okay.
generation. Got
Wow.
started helping my dad at his office in the summer, being a processor's assistant and loan officer assistant at 14. I'd work there in the summers, and then I'd work evenings, smaller jobs during when I was in school. Graduated from high school early, went right into processing at 17 and a half. Um, got my license at 19, was originating loans at 19. And this was my part-time college job.
Wow. So
Yeah.
that's that's a that's a long-term part-time college
Yeah,
job.
it is. Yeah.
That's pretty
I
funny.
tell people, I go, this is like Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave.
So, and give listeners and viewers just a rough idea of your volume, so they
Oh,
have an
okay.
idea of how many units, what kind of
Yeah.
volume do you're typically doing.
Typically around 25. We're going to elapse that this year, upwards of the high 30 million a
Yep.
year. But, I have a lot of other interests outside of mortgage. So,
Yes,
and
you
of
do.
course, inventing things. So, I'd say I'm 75% in, but I make enough to obviously pay the bills
Yep.
and provide the lifestyle that I want.
Totally. So I love that for what it's worth. I don't see that enough. I love it when somebody is diversified enough that they're able to sort of manage the business that pays the bills, but
Yeah.
still pursue their passion. And so let's talk about your passion. One of them, anyway,
Hmm.
is this program, this solution that you call Front2Fund. And why don't we start with the name? Like, what does
Okay.
that mean, Front2Fund?
Well, we front end files to fund them. We don't bring in applications and do all the work on the front end to just have them go into default, or die on the conveyor belt, so to speak. We bring them in
Mm,
to fund them, and I crack up when I see all the application volume somebody did last month or that they're pacing for this month, and that really doesn't mean a lot to me. It's like, talk to me at the end of the day when we funded the
Totally.
loans, and honestly, if we could get another metric in there, it's how many hassle-free and on-time closings did you have?
Nice. Nice.
Because that's going to really lead to repeat and referral business. That is the high matrix. That's A plus grades that you get on those loans.
I love that, man. I love. So what did you call it again? High what?
Hassle-free and on-time
Hassle-free and
closings.
on time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to an acronym like HFOT. Yeah, it's probably not going to catch on, but you make a really great point, and to that point, I mentioned to you the other day, for viewers and listeners that are not in the LA area, something that's been on the news this week is LAX finally made this shift in how they're dealing with the rideshare solution, because it's become a rideshare problem in LAX, and there's too many Lyft and Uber vehicles
Yeah.
pulling up, and so it created all this crowding with the buses and everything that's going on. So they've created a separate lot where this is happening. Well, the first day was a nightmare. They had people coming in waiting 45 minutes to an hour and a half, and it's like, so but it reminds me of our business, right?
Yeah.
It's very,
Yeah.
to your point with the conveyor belt, if you look at, I put this file on and it moves down. One of the things that Tim Brahim spoke 2 years ago is he wrote this great article about passing the baton.
Yeah.
And it was like a relay race, right? That and his contention was, look, if you're a loan originator,
Mm-hmm.
then you originate, and then
Yeah.
you move on and you originate another one. But you don't, to your point, hover around the file and create this masterpiece that can only be done once and can't be replicated because you
Right.
won't do enough loans to make a living.
Right.
On the other hand, you don't want to hand the baton off to the next person and then say, oh, can I have that back? Because there's
Yeah.
a couple other things I need to, or worse, they come back to you and
Well,
say,
right. Yeah.
did you not know this guy had 5 rentals? Like, seriously?
Right. It's taking the time to do the baton right.
Totally.
The mortgage business is a paradox. We have our sales managers telling us to go out and get as much volume as possible, be the person of the year, be the person of the month, be the rainmaker. And then we have our ops manager going, please turn in really great files. We want
So true.
fill out the loan application to, completely.
Right.
Give us all the documentation we need, or at least, have it in play where you requested it from the borrower and it's coming in.
Totally.
And so you're fighting between, okay, how do I know when I spent too much time on a file? Obviously if I'm making masterpieces, then I'm not out getting new loans. If I'm out spending too much time getting new loans, and I'm not doing a good job on the ones I turn in. And I always say it's like creating masterpiece paintings on an assembly line scale.
Yeah.
Because they are all different. I mean, each
Sure.
story is different. You never get bored in the loan business. That's for one thing.
For sure.
So it's a matter of balancing that to optimize your time, your resources, and you're going to optimize your ROI. And it's a matter of finding that sweet spot in there.
It is, and I've never heard it described like that, but that does make perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
So you said something earlier that you just sort of glossed over in your intro that is interesting to me. You said you finished high school early, and I'm thinking about my high school experience, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I finished high school late. Like I didn't actually stay longer, but oh my goodness, I'm sure they would have made me if they could. So what it tells me is you're a smart guy. So now you get into the mortgage business, you marinate in it from 14, like this is your world, this. But the other cool thing about you is I think you have this interesting way that you sort of view things, a filter that sort of creates a grid for you, I think, where it's like you see data points, right? And then you start looking at, I think there's a better way. And isn't that where Front2Fund came from?
Yeah, I have this fascination with the assembly line, economies of scale, specialization of labor. I just found it to be really interesting on optimization, ergonomics, things like that, and going, okay, isn't there a better way to do this? And it really comes down to innovation creates what I call legitimate shortcuts. I mean, there's bad shortcuts where you did a half butt job and it blows up in your face, but like the wheel, the polio vaccination, the assembly line, those are legitimate shortcuts that you can leverage and make things better for everybody.
So look, there's a lot of this recording is really designed for the mortgage industry. Anybody can listen to it or watch it. I'm happy to have them do that, but we're really speaking to the industry that you and I both spend
Sure.
most of our time in. And so you called it out up front. We have operations people right now that are stretched to the max.
Oh yeah.
They're throwing their hands up, in some cases, walking away from their desk. I mean, like, no kidding. I've heard this more than I've ever heard it in my career. On the
Wow.
other hand, we've got AI coming in, and we all know that, right? That
Right.
increasingly there's solutions like, oh, sweet, I can scan this tax return and it will automatically calculate income.
Yeah.
Awesome. And that's done in seconds. Well, what we know is there's someplace in between where we are now and probably where we're headed, which is really going to be the optimal place for a mortgage company, a branch manager,
Right.
or an originator to be. And that is, to your point, help me have a smoother process
Right.
while I go out and do more of what I coach people to do every day, which is go shake hands and kiss babies. Like, that's what you're
Yeah.
supposed to be doing, right? You're in the
Right.
rainmaking business.
Correct.
So tell us more about this system. And I mean, what is this, Chad? Is it a
Yeah.
CRM? Is it an add-on? What is it?
So basically, it's a web-based software program that helps with the process. There's a lot of softwares that deal with CRM, lead generation, originating, but this one deals with the process and how to optimize the process, and it strengthens and streamlines the loan process.
Hmm.
And so it's within it is systems, tools, and education that I've built over, originating loan for 27 plus years.
Mhm.
And where I can leverage some quick tricks to maximize my time, to be provide world-class service without taking world-class time.
Yeah,
I can pivot off of those. I can
right.
be efficient and quick. It looks like I spent a ton of time on it, but I didn't. I just pivoted off previous information and customized stuff. So it's a collection of some different tools. Really, and the thing I would tell people, because every time I hear of a new innovation, I'll be honest with you, when we got our new CRM, it kind of scared me, to be honest with you.
Right.
Learning curve, I'm going, oh my gosh, this is going to be and it ended
Sure.
up being more like 2 days of training, and then still going back and watching a bunch of videos. And I want to make sure, I hate the learning curve, to be honest with you. I don't like huge learning curves. I love intuitive things.
Yep.
And so I would tell people, look, first of all, going into this and watching this, that it is not an overhaul to the system. It really is more like a turbo booster that you put on your existing engine.
So good.
Yeah. So one of the big tools right now that I'm utilizing, and that really, was the mainstay or the cornerstone, so to speak, of this whole Front2Fund, was the mortgage evaluation tool. And I used to have like a checklist. I've heard of people having a checklist or a list of questions when they get a new file, and it makes you slow down to answer all those questions. But the problem is there's so many scenarios. I mean, there's jumbo, there's VA,
Sure.
there's condo, then you get into manufactured home, and you get all this myriad of different scenarios, and you could have that checklist. I mean, I noticed I came up with 200 questions, and
Wow.
I would be going through going, well, does this apply? Does this apply? Does this apply?
Sure.
And so what the software does is it automatically customizes the evaluation tool to that specific file. It
Nice.
automatically brings in relevant questions and doesn't even populate irrelevant questions. And so what it allowed me to do was just kind of slow down, and my team too, just to slow down enough to really go into depth of the application, the storyline of the file, and the documentation that we have, so that later it didn't blow up. We didn't have landmines in our file that would blow up in processing and underwriting, and even worse, sometimes even funding. And so, and as you know, the mortgage business is learned a lot through pain.
Mm,
You learn the guidelines a lot of times the hard way.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And so it's a matter of trying to avoid those things. I mean, I've been around for a long time. I can look at a file and from 10,000 feet up and go, yeah, that's going to go.
Sure.
And the temptation is, okay, that's going to go. You've got a complete application and just run out the door. But what if if I just took a little more time? Do you have an IRS payment plan? Is the condo warrantable or non-warrantable?
Mm,
Or what are these weird deposits when I have two W-2 wage earners and I got these non-payroll deposits going in? Just slow down enough to figure out what those are, get some perspective on it, and then really complete your file, and so that it doesn't blow up on you in the back end. Because once something goes ugly in the mortgage business, it becomes this all-encompassing, 4-alarm fire that, what happens to your prospecting time? down
Sure.
the tubes.
Oh, it's
You become
completely reactive.
oh, yeah, complete, yeah, right. You go from proactive to reactive in
Yeah.
seconds, and now you're doing damage control. You're defending your reputation. You're defending your whole process. um, your stress, your team's stressed. And so really, what I wanted was something that would kind of legitimately force people to slow down.
Yeah.
But there's some other in this on the short run that might feel like, oh, well, gosh, now it's going to take me 20, 30
Sure.
minutes more to do a file. But
Sure.
I'll be honest with you, there's some other tools that are going to help you gain that back immediately on the short run. And in the long run, when you're not doing firefighter mode, you're going to make a lot more money, because if you can stay in prospecting mode and not damage control mode, a
Oh
lot
yeah.
higher ROI there.
So here's an example that we've all been through. I was going through my photos the other day because
Hmm.
I had like 45,000 photographs on my
Yeah, me too.
yeah. And I was going through some the other day, moving them into iCloud so that I had more storage space. And I ran across this old picture of a BlackBerry that, right,
Okay.
my BlackBerry. And I was looking at it, and I thought, man, I missed the keyboard, right? I think we all
Yeah.
go through that. And then I thought, okay, the very first time I had an iPhone, right? We've all been through this. You'd look at it, if you remember the Palm Pilot and
Yeah.
then BlackBerry, and then you looked at this and it was like, well, it's just glass. And what are the app things? And so at some point we figured out that, oh, so this is actually where all the interfacing is done.
Yeah.
This is the way that it synchronizes with my laptop and my
Yeah.
computer. And so in the beginning, we were like a kid learning to tie their shoes for the first time,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like, how did you put that loop through there and make that? I don't have any. And instead now we use these things instinctively. So I hear you that, initially somebody might look at a solution like this and say, oh, great, another thing that I have
Yeah.
to learn. But I would argue it, in addition to the features that you have pointed out, will actually make them more productive that are in the program.
Hmm.
Irrespective of that, Mortgage Coach is a great example. I have people push back all the time with me on Mortgage Coach that, yeah, I don't have time to figure that out.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, once you do, you
Yeah.
will be so much more effective the way that you show up, and you're going
Right.
to create more business as a result. So, Chad, here's what I believe with all my heart and soul. I think you're going to be famous in our business.
Oh,
That's what I think.
that'd be nice.
I really do, man, because I think you brought a solution that nobody else has done. It's like when I wrote my book, I started doing research. I went to the Google, right?
Hmm.
And I started to look for military examples in sales, and like it didn't exist. So,
Yeah.
so that's when I was convinced that, oh, this is a great idea, that nobody's done this. So
Yeah.
White Collar Warrior came as a result of that. I feel like unless somebody's building this right now and we don't know it, and they
Hmm.
might very well be, you're the first guy I'm aware of who has said, you know what, you guys, the CRM is one thing,
Hmm.
but that's managing different data.
Yeah.
This is about optimizing what happens from, what did you call it? The loan storyline?
Yeah. Basically, you're the storyline of the file. I
I
mean,
love
yeah.
that, right?
Yeah. And really, I mean, like I said, I've been around some of the greatest people out there. I mean, some of the more people in the mortgage business are their own breed, and they're awesome people. And I looked at this and I go, you know what? There's a lot of pain and stress and frustration in this business, and there's a lot of demands. I mean, the funny thing, you're supposed to sprint a marathon. I mean, I'm sorry, jog a marathon. We ended up
Right.
sprinting a marathon our whole life, whole entire
Mm.
existence. And I felt like, this is an awesome gift I can give back to these people, to help them, from everybody from the client to the referring partners, to the loan officer, to their team, to the processors, to the managers, the sales manager, underwriters, funders. It would be something that would be inclusive and helping everybody have a lot less stress and a lot more
Yeah.
joy. And it's about optimizing our ROI. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to work hard. I get it. We're going to sacrifice. We're going to put our blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. But at the end of the day, we want to have more time, more free time, and obviously a really good paycheck with it.
Yeah, and I would argue that yes, I know people are willing to work hard. I think of the thousands of people that I've coached at this point. And in the mortgage space, the thing that I hear most often, Chad, is I need to get out of the files.
Yeah.
Like mortgage people recognize that. Like this
Yeah.
is quicksand, right? This
Right.
is
Right.
this is priority quicksand for me, and I
Right.
get pulled into it because I've got to have that closing. I've got
Yeah.
to help that realtor. I said we were going to close by the 24th. this is now in jeopardy. And so all those
Right.
things my coach is telling me to do,
Yeah.
which is to follow up with my TBDs and talk to realtors and do all the things we're
Yeah.
supposed to do, those all go to a back burner because now I've got a fire that was preventable.
Well, exactly. And the nice thing about this is it provides a level of safety. You could give this file, the brand new file, to a loan officer assistant and say, run it through Front2Fund. And you have that assurance that they've run it through. And of course, you can see the report at the end of the day of what's my strengths, what's my weaknesses, what are my hot spots. There's some really quick reporting. You can pivot right off there, do a really good needs list. So when the borrowers send in their documentation, it's very important to look at that within the first 24 to 36 hours, see if they did it right. They think, oh, well, I gave you page one of the
Sure,
bank statement. It says the balance on it. You're like,
sure.
no, all pages. Yeah, all schedules of the tax returns. So you're not, you don't want to badger your clients.
Yep.
That is where it goes from hassle-free to full of hassle, and they feel like they're being badgered. They're not going to give you good reviews. So when I give a file to my team and they run it through there, I know that they've looked at all of the most important matters of that file. And
Yep.
then so I have more security. I can stay in proactive mode and not reactive mode.
Well, I love it. And so if people want to get in on this early and have a conversation with you and learn more about it, where should we direct them? What's the best way for them to connect with you?
Well, they can obviously call me. I'm at 805-850-8106,
Mhm.
or Chad Cockerell at front2fund.com. And Front2Fund has the numeric 2 in it. So my first and last name at front2fund.com. There's front2fund.com, the website. It's got my contact information on there also.
Cool. And you have a video, right, that sort of describes this a little
Yes, I
bit?
do. I actually have one from the loan officer perspective, and I have
Mhm.
one from the manager's perspective, because I realized, there's two different
Right.
viewpoints.
Oh,
There's
totally.
there's boots on the ground, and then there's 10,000 feet up in the ivory tower.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Well, Chad, I'm fired up about what you're doing. I'm
Thank you,
super
sir.
excited. Yeah, about the ability to help an industry who right now is struggling a little bit with
Yeah.
capacity, and this can help with that initial move toward more certainty, which
Yeah.
frees me up to do more of the things that matter. So,
Exactly.
Chad, you're a stud. I'm
Thank you,
excited. You're the
man.
very first
Thank you,
guy
Bill.
I've known that's finished high school early, and that intimidates me, but I'm proud of you. And good luck with Front2Fund and all you're doing. I appreciate it.
Thank you.